Good morning, and welcome to ARC's 20th Forum. Let me maybe start by asking, could you please raise your hand, those of you who are at this forum for the first time? Folks, take a look. I noticed that this year, we have more first-timers at this forum, I would say at least for the last 10 years. You know what this means? In fact, it's a good thing for our industry. You know, more new people, also, in fact, actually, a lot of new companies. You can see many new companies next door in the hall, but there is lots of new companies that are, in fact, actually getting into our industry. I think that's a very healthy sign. You know, another thing I want to mention about this forum is, you know, I would say at least for the past 10 years, we have had a basic rule that all presentations are going to be from customers. And that has worked very well. So you're going to hear, in fact, there are almost 200 speakers and panelists. So a lot of you, in fact, are going to be sharing because this is an industry forum. I think we can all learn from each other. Now, I want to start my remarks by pointing out this press release. We got this press release about 3 weeks ago, issued by ExxonMobil and Lockheed Martin. The first paragraph is shown here, but there is a link in your app to the complete press release. You know, as you can see, ExxonMobil awarded a contract to Lockheed Martin for proof of concept for open and secure automation systems. And also they had, by the way, an industry day on January 26th. You know, I know some of you attended that, but most of you did not. I mean, I'm pleased to say that we have the entire ExxonMobil team that is leading this initiative here with us at this forum. We are going to have actually Sandy Wasser and Don Bertuziak actually speaking right after me this morning. We have Carol Eit. She will be on the executive panel tomorrow morning. And Steve Bitar, who is the lead on this initiative, he will go into more detail at 4 o'clock tomorrow in the evening. So I encourage all of you folks to please talk to them. And I know when we got this press release, we had a lot of questions. I'm sure all of you are going to have a lot of questions. In fact, actually, 2 of our analysts wrote a report, 20 questions about open systems. And that document, in fact, is also available to all of you in the app. So I encourage you, to read those. Now, a couple of other things I want to say about this initiative is that, first is, I want to thank actually ExxonMobil to be bold enough to take this initiative for open systems. We agree with ExxonMobil that our industry could benefit from open systems. Another thing is, in fact, actually, they already held an industry day. They are not trying to do this by themselves. They are inviting the industry to join. So I encourage each and every one of you, take a look, talk to them. If it makes sense for you, please join forces with them. More of us work together, sooner we will get to our goal. Now, another couple of things, you would say, why Lockheed Martin? First of all, I'm glad to say that also the project manager from Lockheed Martin, Dennis Stevens, he's also here. But when you look at the aerospace industry, in fact, increasingly, you can think of an airplane or even an autonomous car as very much like a process plant. It's a very complex entity. There are lots of thousands of different pieces. They need to work together. So aerospace industry, realized about a decade ago that, developing a very sophisticated aircraft is so complex that they really integrating all the pieces was so expensive and so complex that they need a better way. So they started an initiative they called FACE. I'm sure ExxonMobil and Lockheed Martin will tell you more about that. In 2010, and they developed open systems. So that's what they are using right now. So I think our industry can also benefit. We can learn from them. Another thing I want to bring to your attention is several of us from ARC, we visited actually our process industry, the biggest trade show called ACMA in Frankfurt, Germany last summer. There we learned they have an initiative taken by an organization called Namur and a company, Pepperell Fuchs, to bring Ethernet to the process automation. So we also have actually Dr. Kegel from Pepperell Fuchs and Dr. Cross from BASF. They will be presenting actually this initiative this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Now, I think all of you, when we look around our industry, we are seeing the world is changing. You look at aerospace industry being actually transformed by SpaceX and obviously Blue Origin and numerous drone companies. Automotive being turned upside down by Tesla and Google. And we know very well what fracking companies have done to the oil and gas industry. Electric power being transformed by the clean energy companies. Industry after industry is being transformed. In most cases, by companies from outside the industry. There are so many innovative companies, and that's why we are glad to have actually many new companies and people at this forum. Now, we believe that process plants are also ripe for next generation digital transformation. When you take a look at process plants, most of them are aging. Most of the assets in the plants are over 30 years old. I've been telling for quite some time now, if you want to see the most highly automated plant, you have to go to China. Most of our plants are aging. And clearly, old assets, they are prone to failures. Our old systems, they are very difficult to operate, especially for young generation. So we have a lot of issues, and they are really very, very expensive to upgrade. And in essence, actually, they are so expensive and so complex to upgrade, many process companies simply are not upgrading. They keep on running the existing plants as long as they can. And also the ones who are upgrading, they are simply changing the old hardware with the new hardware. They are not really transforming their plants because we believe today's proprietary systems, unfortunately, don't provide a good foundation for the future plants. I know, and all of you know, that our industry only deploys proven technologies. But when you look at a lot of the technologies we are talking about, that's not the issue. In fact, actually, all the technologies that we need, they are plenty proven. Mobile devices, clouds. Cloud is running over $2 billion mobile devices out there. Analytics, there are probably several hundred analytics companies out there. Actually, a couple of companies are showing 3D visualization in the next hall. Wireless communication, robotics, drones. There is a revolution going on out there, and a lot of these technologies are proven for us to start using in our plants. I want to mention, in fact, actually, the machine learning. I'm sure most of you have heard about IBM Watson. the reigning champion in chess and Jeopardy. I'm sure you have heard about Google car driving around in California roads, learning. The interesting thing about the new technologies is that, with the new smart machines, they get better every day. Whereas our existing machinery in the plants, performance degrades. When you see this kind of things happening, you have to start thinking, when a plant has some of these smart machines and you don't, how are you going to compete? Same thing with open platforms. Certainly, for example, cloud wouldn't be growing the way it is. It's explosive growth without standards. Say our aerospace industry, they have open platforms. More and more industries are moving to open platforms. Now, ARC has been doing a lot of research and writing about next generation of automation systems. And we call this collaborative process automation system. We wrote the first version of this report actually over a decade ago, and last year we published version 3. In fact, our vision aligns very well with ExxonMobil's vision. So we feel that next generation digital transformation, you really need open systems that can work together. You can integrate all the thousands of products in your plants easily. So we believe actually going forward, open systems, we can benefit from open systems for our industry. Another thing, obviously, IT and OT, they have been converging. And we believe that you need to, in the plants, operations technology folks got to work together with your IT folks. For example, your process engineers need to work with the software developers on the IT side. Your safety experts, they need to work with cybersecurity experts in the IT organization. And your automation experts have to work with the data scientists. I know many companies are already integrating their OT and IT organizations, and others are trying to get their organizations work together. We think going forward, that's another very, very important thing that our industry has to do. Now, when I was at this trade show I mentioned last summer, there was literally every compressor, every pump, motors company, all of these equipment suppliers were there. I talked to every compressor company at this trade show. All of them told me that they are already offering remote monitoring services for their compressors. And many of the leading pump companies, they were actually showing their smart pumps. Think about this now when you start to buy these smart pumps and compressors and motors, thousands of them in your plants. They are coming up with their own automation systems. How are you going to try to integrate all of them into your main automation system? You are going to need some sort of easy way, some sort of standardization. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to integrate. They will be very expensive. Yes, you can do this. But we can make it easier if we do follow some sort of standardization. As I mentioned, all these compressor companies, they were not only obviously selling you the compressors, they were offering actually remote monitoring services. Yes, in the past you bought the products, you maintained them, you ran them. But increasingly, every product is going to have a lot of software. It's not fixing some mechanical problem or electrical problem. You're talking about, perhaps Fixing software. I tell you, I'm a software engineer. Fixing software is not easy. So you can actually work with these companies. They can help you not only maintain their equipment over the years, but in fact, as I mentioned, smart machines, they can help you improve the performance of their machinery over time. And actually, I talked about this last year. Yes, you can have cloud-connected plants. And I'm sure some of you in the audience thinking, no, we don't want to connect anything to the cloud. Yes, that's true about your existing equipment. You don't want to connect anything in your plant today to the cloud. But the newer, next generation of smart machines, cybersecurity has to be built in. We have to build from scratch. If it is built in, you can feel secure that you can connect these products to the cloud. As I mentioned, there's obviously, compressors and pumps and motors. Some of the big equipment in your plants. You can improve the performance of that equipment, if you either, bring some operational data from these machines to the cloud and analyze it, or maybe you let the suppliers analyze it and help you predict failures and so forth. So that sort of thing can be done. Now, connected enterprise. Certainly, you are going to have a lot of smart machines in the future in your plants. And your supply chain, it will extend all the way to your supply chain. In fact, right now, the biggest thing on the supply chain side is many companies are building what they call supply chain towers. And we have a session on Thursday morning, and 2 companies will be talking about, how they have built the supply chain tower and how they are monitoring their supply chain in real time. Another very important thing we haven't talked much about here is the smart workers. In fact, we have several companies in the audience here. They are offering solutions. You can have a smart helmet, and in the helmet, actually, they are offering augmented reality or virtual reality, augmented reality. Your engineers, your operators, you can be sitting at home with this helmet on your head and see the plant, diagnose a problem. So we are going to have a lot of actually smart workers as well in the future. Certainly we talked about, the business systems. You already have most of your business systems, up in the cloud, or, by the way, when I say cloud, that could be your private data center, But as far as you are concerned, it's out there someplace. And not to forget our products. And I'm sure some of you are driving cars, they are connected to the cloud. An automotive company is monitoring your car as it's running. And the same kind of thing, why not pumps and why not compressors, whatever you're making or whatever you're using, all of those pieces of equipment, in essence, you monitor over the life cycle. ARC has developed this model to simplify the last slide. And as you can see, it's not, you have thousands of pieces of equipment in your plants. Then you have all these different plants. And then you have to connect your supply chain, your products. There are a lot of pieces that you got to bring together to really have a connected enterprise, really optimize operations of your company. And you need some sort of an open platform to do that. I know those of you who've been coming to the forum, you have seen this picture a lot of times. This is ARC collaborative manufacturing model. And just quickly, I want to go over some of the things you can in the plant. Certainly, you want to start thinking about smart machines and smart workers. Now, at the enterprise level, you want to thinking about actually, you are now running the companies in real time. It's not that you get a report after a week or after a month. You, at the enterprise level, can find out, how much your plant is producing, what's the operational efficiency and all of that. Customers. You have now connections with your customers for life of the product. You want to focus on that. Supply chain. I talked about, having a supply chain tower. Actually, these are a whole bunch of things you can do, but I'm only mentioning some key ones. And the services. The business model, a lot of the companies will change going forward. Rather than simply selling products, you are in essence actually providing solutions to your customers, for the life cycle of the product. And on the design side, all of it has to begin when you're designing a product. Smart machine, it's going to be smart only if you're building smarts from scratch when you're designing the product. So you got to start, it has to be end to end, from the time you design the product and from the time all the way to the time you decommission the product. So, well, I just there are lots of things, but I just noted down 5 things innovative-driven companies need to do going forward. Certainly, as I mentioned, they have to have a relationship with their customers for life. Not that you sell the product and forget about it and so forth. Collaboration. I think collaboration is taking another meaning. We have to take it a higher level. You will be collaborating with your customers, collaborating with your partners, much more so than we have done in the past. You got to have strong IT, OT, and engineering organization. Certainly we think it would help. It will save you a lot of money if you do have open, secure software platforms. You're going to need that. If you want to continuously refresh that. Most of you know cloud. Companies in the cloud, your software, our cell phones, we get an upgrade, every few months. Certainly in the industrial world, you don't want to do that, but still, you don't want to go 20 years. You don't want to go 10 years. You don't want to go 5 years. You want to refresh your systems a lot quicker than what we have done in the past. And certainly, you want to be thinking about how you can transform your business model. And you can only do all of this if you really, companies, all of us have to start creating technology, innovation-friendly culture. Thank you for listening.